Disclaimer, the following video is meant to be a joke, so don't take anything that this idiot says seriously. With that being said, please enjoy the video.
BlazBlue Cross-Tag Battle!
BlazBlue Cross-Tag Battle, the most recent game in the series that has been released by Arc System Works, and what's supposedly supposed to be the last game of the series, and some people claim that this is the death of BlazBlue, which I'm going to disagree because the reason why I disagree is because I'm just gonna say this right now, and I don't care what any of you say, but I actually like BlazBlue Cross-Tag Battle.
Oh my god, bro.
Oh, hell no, man. What the fuck, man? Get your ass on, boy. You get your goddamn ugly ass on.
I stand by what I said. Okay, but in all seriousness, listen, BlazBlue Cross-Tag Battle has had some, well, issues in the past. I mean, it is by no means a perfect game. I mean, graphically speaking, the game looks very beautiful. Gameplay is also pretty good, and the soundtrack, well, I won't lie, the BlazBlue songs were butchered, and they're mostly recycling songs from older games, but that's neither here or there. There are some new tracks in here, and the soundtrack is pretty good, aside from the BlazBlue songs getting cut, which was so weird, but we're not getting into that. And the game was also lacking into content, and the roster it wasn't bad, but there could have been more to it. So what exactly am I getting to here with this? Well, ladies and gentlemen, what if I was to tell you that BlazBlue Cross-Tag Battle version 3.0 is coming today?
You serious?
Yeah, you heard me right. I am going to fix BlazBlue Cross-Tag Battle and make it the best fighting game that it was meant to be. And how exactly am I going to do that? Well, first, we're gonna fix the roster. Secondly, we're gonna add more modes and more content because, I mean, let's face it, some of the content in this game was kinda lacking. And as for the story mode, well, I'm not gonna lie, there are some key parts of the story mode that we will have to fix, so yeah, anyways, with that being said, let's get into the discussion on why I think we can fix BlazBlue Cross-Tag Battle. So I basically discussed BlazBlue Cross-Tag Battle version 3.0. What exactly is version 3.0? Well, instead of calling it version 3.0, we're gonna call the whole game BlazBlue Cross-Tag Battle Facing Fate. Yeah, that's exactly what it's gonna be called, Facing Fate. Now, why exactly am I calling it Facing Fate? Because BlazBlue's story has always been about how fate is constantly changing and constantly rewinding, like as shown in Calamity Trigger, Continuum Shift, and basically like its whole theme around fate, like, you know, the wheel of fate is turning. Can't escape from crossing fate. You get what I'm saying. And besides, crossing fate is also the theme of the game because, well, you see, in Cross Tag Battle, it's a crossover, and now it's getting involved into BlazBlue's fate. At least that's what I'm thinking that it means. And then, of course, there's the other theme of it in the version 2.0 called Turning Fate, which I'm guessing now that things have been, like, going the way they were in the game, now fate is now turning, like, because, like I said before, the wheel of fate is turning. And that's the theme of BlazBlue. So, I'm calling it Facing Fate because now with fate being now sealed and set, it's gonna be hard, but we as human beings, and this kinda is a real thing for all of us, we will have to face our own fates, like our own demise or our own futures or what's gonna be ahead of us ahead of time. And I think that's probably how it would probably be in this type of game because, well, I mean, I know characters in fiction or non-fiction cannot escape from their own fate, and they can't, like, literally just change fate as they can. I mean, it is possible due to story reasons, but, like, that's not the point. Like, the point is that, like, it's about facing your fate and facing, like, what's going on now that your fate is sealed, something like that. Kind of like how in Persona 4 with its theme around the truth, especially with the theme songs, Reach Out to the Truth, Pursuing My True Self, like, something like that, or Seeking the Truth, I think that's what that song was called. But, yeah, so, anyway, that's enough about the title screen. Let's get into the actual content. So what kind of content am I adding to BlazBlue Cross Tag Battle? Well, for starters, where's the arcade mode? Yeah, cause you see, when BlazBlue Cross Tag Battle was first released, there was no arcade mode. I mean, what is this? Street Fighter 5? Alright, that joke was terrible. I deeply apologize for everyone. Alright, but the point is we do need an arcade mode. Now, I can't guarantee arcade endings because, holy hell, there is a lot of characters in this game, and coming up with arcade endings for, like, every single character, especially when you have certain team combinations, and you're playing as literally a tag team of 2 different characters, it's honestly going to be hard to come up with a arcade story for everyone. And I can understand why there wasn't an arcade mode, but it should have been in the game in the start. So, the way how it's going to be handled is that it's going to be the same, where you'll basically go through 8 matches. 6 of them will be random teams selected. For the 7th match, which is basically the sub-boss for the arcade mode, I'm going to have you fighting against S. Now, why S specifically? Well, because S was the sub-boss in all the story chapters for the main story, because it doesn't matter what chapter you played as, S was always the one character that the main characters would fight at the end, and her partner's basically gonna be a clone of Ragna, you, Hyde, or Ruby, and it's gonna be depending on which leading character on your team you're playing as. Like, if you're playing a BlazBlue character, you'll fight Ragna. You're playing Persona, you play you. You're playing Under Night, you fight Hyde. You're playing Ruby, you fight Ruby, of course. But if you're playing as a character outside of BlazBlue, Persona 4, Under Night, and Ruby, which is the case because there are characters that are not from that franchise, then 4 of the clones are going to be selected at random. So, yeah. And the final boss, of course, is going to be the system itself, aka the final boss of the story mode, which is honestly kind of shocking that it would have been a good arcade mode final boss if you think about it. And not to mention, it could have had its own mode where we could choose to fight this thing or refight it whenever we want with any character without having to replay the story. It's a missed opportunity that Mori did not even get to test out. Well, then again, I'm not sure if Mori had full control over the project, or I don't even know if he knew what he was doing at that time, but it is what it is. Speaking of bosses, let's talk about the story mode itself. Now, the story mode, well, I'm gonna be honest, it was okay for the most part. Like, we will have to make some changes to the whole entire story mode because there was some content that just made it feel a little stale and bland, but we're not changing anything from the DLC story. The DLC story is perfect.
Just to recap though, I'm stuck in some sham of a world, and I'm supposed to collect stamps. Okay, yeah, screw it. This is bullshit. There's gotta be some non-stampy way to get home.
So basically, all the good stuff that happened in the DLC story, it'll be carried over to the mainline story, so that way, it'll be more fun. Like, we'll have more gags, more jokes, more references, and we'll have better interactions with each other. Some characters that had, like, missed opportunities for cool interactions. Like, there are so many interactions with so many characters that could have been possible that the game never really got to experience. More accurately, we also never really got to play as any other characters outside of the main 4 protagonists of each of the franchises. And I like to change that. Like, why not play as, like, other characters, like, as you progress through the story outside of the main protagonist? Because it would have been perfect. And plus, remember how I said that the system was going to be the final boss of the arcade mode? Well, I'm thinking it should have been the actual final boss for the whole entire mode. And in fact, for the whole story, like, it would not only be the true final boss. Let's have the final bosses, instead of being the system, like for the different stories, like outside of the true ending, let's have the final bosses be other monsters or bosses from the other games. Like, for example, for BlazBlue's story, I want the final boss to be the Takemiki Zuchi. Now, I know this doesn't make any sense. Why the hell would I want to put the Takemiki Zuchi in the game? I mean, it was a fun boss in BlazBlue, Chrono Phantasma, and Central Fiction, despite the fact that I never actually got to fight the boss because I never got to finish the story mode, but that doesn't matter. The point is, we are going to put the Takemiki Zuchi here as one of the bosses because, I mean, it would have been a perfect opportunity to put it inside, and hey, we could even have like a small boss rush mode too to go along with it. And of course, if you're playing the Persona 4 Arena story mode, your final boss is going to be the Haino Kagasuchi. Unfortunately, Under Night In-Birth and Ruby, they don't have any bosses, well, in their games in particular. Well, Ruby's a web series. Under Night didn't really have much of a boss outside of the playable characters. So anyways, here's what I think could be a cool idea for a boss. You know how in Under Night, Hilda's big motivation is that she wants to become a rebirth? Well, here's what I thought. Let's make a cool what-if scenario, because this is a crossover, and we couldn't make possibilities become realities. Let's have a boss called Rebirth Hilda, where Hilda actually succeeds in becoming a rebirth, and she's so powerful to the point where Hyde has to stop her. I mean, I know it would take a lot of explanation on how this would happen, but it's a cool idea nonetheless. And it will also give us an excuse to give us a boss for the Under Night characters. And then, of course, that leads to the Ruby cast. So, what is their final boss going to be in their story mode? I'm gonna be honest with you guys, I haven't really caught up on Ruby that much, and I have been scrolling through all the fight scenes in each of the different volumes to see what would be a good boss for Ruby. Unfortunately, there's not much of a monstrous threat to the characters outside of, like, those creatures in white masks that are all black. These creatures, they basically take the form of, like, all sorts of different animals, like bears, snakes, crows, scorpions, wolves, etc., etc. And I thought to myself, okay, let's have one of those be the boss for the Ruby characters, but I'm thinking, like, in terms of, like, originality, I haven't seen, like, I don't know if there's like any fights surrounding these creatures, like that's based around this form, but I'm thinking, like, what if it could take on the form of a giant Cerberus? Yeah, we could fight this black-white mask creature that's basically taking on the form of a Cerberus, since, you know, the world of Ruby is kind of like a half sci-fi, half fantasy type of world, and since it's all fantasy and stuff, it would kind of fit well and mesh well. So, yeah. As for the characters outside of the 4 main franchises, well, I don't know what to do with their stories, unless they're basically gonna share the same story mode with all the other characters, since, I don't know, I think it's best to give the story modes, like the main story campaigns, to the main 4 franchises of this crossover, because that's what the game originally started out with. But we're not just focusing on the 4 main franchises and the ones outside of it, because you see, in the next segment, we're going to be talking about something very important, and I know a lot of you are thinking about it, but we'll get to it in a little bit. Another big change that I would love to see is, well, I'm not to be a bit picky or something, but give us a better online lobby. Like, listen, I have no complaints with the online lobbies in Cross Tag Battle. I think they're actually pretty cool, but I mean, you could make it, like, even better, like, you know how in some fighting games, like, you know how in BlazBlue Central Fiction and Guilty Gear Xrd, like, they basically have you as a pixelated character roaming around this empty room that you can decorate and put all sorts of different furniture while you're waiting for your opponent and all that stuff, like, to show off, like, how cool your lobby is when you join them. Like, it's a pretty neat idea. In fact, you know what's also pretty neat about this idea? Like, let's have, like, a big 3D spacious room where our little chibi avatars get to roam around, and we get to customize, like, how our room looks like, just like in the pixelated versions of the online lobbies. And we could, like, buy all sorts of different furniture, wallpaper, plushies, and merchandise. Basically, all the stuff to get fans geeking out, and basically just to, like, show off, like, people who really love design and aesthetics in their fighting games. And yeah, that's basically all I have to say about this. And now we come to the main attraction of the game, the roster. Okay, so I don't really need to explain much about the roster, other than the fact that you needed to know this for those who haven't played the game. BlazBlue Cross Tag Battle originally started out with 20 base roster characters, half of which were like DLC, and it felt very weird. Like, it didn't make any sense, like, why the majority of the rest of the roster was all DLC. Like, I think it was supposed to have like 40 characters, but like the reason why there was 20 because the other 20 was like DLC. Like, it was so weird, and it didn't really mesh well, and it wasn't a good image for the game. So I thought, why not fix the roster? How am I gonna fix it specifically? Well, call me crazy, but I have tons and tons of ideas. So now, I won't tell you exactly how many characters I've added, but let's just say I'm going to add a total of 100 characters, like, or over 100, because I feel like we can bring this game to its fullest potential and knock it out of the park and make it the best fighting game anyone has ever seen. Now, I know it's very unrealistic for me to go for over 100, but hey, I'm the one coming up with all these crazy ideas, so not much needs to be said. So anyways, first thing I want to address, no, we are not taking out characters, and we are not removing any characters. So basically, to summarize how the roster's gonna look. So yeah, everyone is here. So all the characters that were playable as DLC and base roster, everyone is here. And we're gonna make it even better because we're gonna add more characters, or better yet, we're gonna basically add every character that has been from each of that franchise's respectful games. Or to be more specific, we're going to be adding every character that has been added from according to the leaked roster rumors. Okay, so for those of you who don't know, somebody on Twitter basically data mined the Nintendo Switch version of Cross Tag Battle, and there was some announcer voice lines that got leaked to some of the characters that were meant to be in the game. Now I don't know if it's real or fake, but judging by the way the announcers sound, it kind of sounds real to me, especially because for some weird reason BlazBlue announcers like to mispronunciate their characters' names. Like, it's so weird. But that's neither here or there. So yeah, every character that was in the data mine leaks, they're all gonna be on this roster. On top of that, why focus on the main 7 franchises that were included in this game when we can also add even more IPs? Now, I know it's gonna sound crazy just to add other characters from other franchises, like, that haven't been in this game yet, but hey, it wouldn't hurt to try, and besides, it would make the game even better and better, so bear with me on this one. But even so, for some franchises, I can't guarantee that we're gonna add, like, literally every single character, because even though I did say everyone is here, I mean, I will add the entire roster of BlazBlue and Persona 4 Arena Ultimax and Under Night In-Birth, but when it comes to some of the other IPs and basically their cast of characters, I can't just literally add everyone to the roster because I know IPs like that had like way more characters than I could count, so we will have to make some cuts and limit it ourselves to the roster. That way we can make room for other characters that could get in. So, try not to get a bit picky with this list and prepare to be a little disappointed. So, yeah. Okay, and before we actually get into the final roster, one last thing I want to mention about the roster is that we're only including IPs that have been collaborated with Arc System Works or are owned by Arc System Works. So, yeah. And maybe we could add some characters that were made into BlazBlue Cross Tag Battle gameplay via Mugen, because I'm not gonna lie, there were some Mugen players out there who did make some characters in the style of BB Tag, especially by characters that were owned by Arc System Works. But we're not going to go too crazy with that. We're only going to go with full Arc System Works IPs or games that have been collaborated with Arc System Works. Or, in my opinion, probably the ones that kind of make the most sense or feel the most right. So, yeah. And we will include some characters and IPs that have collaborated with other companies that have collaborated alongside Arc System Works. So if you have another third-party company that's collaborated with Atlas or French Bread or Marvelous or anything like that, we could possibly make it happen, since Arc System Works have collaborated with these franchises already. But alright, let's get into the roster right now, shall we? And also, I apologize if I mispronounce any of the characters' names, because I'm gonna be honest, I don't know how to pronounce half of these characters' names. And if you're expecting me to pronounce them correctly, this is my response to you.
FBI? Him. Come on in! There he is! Get him!
Alright, so let's get started off with the roster. As always, we'll start out with the one and only BlazBlue. Alright, so every BlazBlue character in BlazBlue Cross Tag Battle facing fate. Ragna the Blood Edge, Jin Kisaragi, Noelle Vermillion, Rachel Alucard, Taukaka, Iron Tiger, Lychee Fei Ling, Arachne, Bang Shishigami, Carl Clover, Hakumen, New 13, Landa 11, Tsubaki Yayoi, Hazama, Mu 12, Makoto Nanaya, Valkenhayn R. Helsing, Platinum the Trinity, Relius Clover, Izayoi, Amane Nitsuki, Bullet, Azrael, Kagura Mitsuki, Kokonoe, Yuki Terumi, Celica A. Mercury, Hibiki Kohaku, Naoto Kurogane, Nine the Phantom, Izanami, Susanoo, S, Mai Natsumi, and Jubei. Okay, so next up is Persona 4 Arena Ultimax, consisting of Yu Narukami, Yosuke Hanamura, Chie Satonaka, Yukiko Amagi, Kanji Tatsumi, Rise Kuchikawa, Teddy, Naoto Shirogane, Mitsuru Kirijo, Akihiko Sanada, Aigis, Lapras, Elizabeth, Yukari Takiba, Junpei Iori, Ken Amada and Komamoru, Margaret, Marie, Toru Adachi, Shadow Lapras, Shadow Yu, and Sho Minazuki. And to be more specific, I mean Minazuki, the one with the persona. Now for Under Night In-Birth, consisting of Hyde, Linnae, Waldstein, Carmine, Aurier, Gordeau, Batista, Merkava, Seth, Yuzuriha, Mika, Hilda, Nanase, Byakuya, Phonon, Enkidu, Wagner, Chaos, and Eltonum. Now time for everyone's favorite series, Ruby, and its characters. Ruby Rose, Weiss Shanae, Blake Belladonna, Yang Xiaolong, Neopolitan, Jean Arc, Fira, Nora Valkyrie, Lai Ren, Sun Wukong, Cinderfall, Emerald Sustrai, Roman Torchwick, and Adam Taros. And now we move on to the Arcana Heart series. Heart Aino, Saki Suzara, Akane Inuyaka, Weiss, Kamui Tokinomiya, Kira Daidoji, Minori Amanohara, Petra Jonah Lagerfist, Charlotte Karat, and Fiona Mayfield. And now it's time for Shinran Kagura, aka Mori's Wet Dream, LOL. Asuka, Yumi, Hamura, Miyabi, Yuzakura, Yagu, Mirai, Ryobi, Renka, Kagura, and Hibari. And for the last official franchise in the game, Akatsuki Blitzkampf, consisting of Akatsuki, Kanai, Mary Lynn Daji, N. Ines, Kati, Sai, Fritz, Y, Adler, Anam, Kanzensha, aka Perfecti, Electra Soldat, Mikal, Murakumo, and the Blitz Tank. Okay, and so from here on out, we're covering 7 more franchises, or more specifically, 7 more new IPs that I've added to the roster to make it a little more interesting. Okay, so next up is Melty Blood, Shiki Tonu, Arcade Brunstud, Akiya Tonu, Ciel, Hisui, Kohaku, Koma Kishima, Miyaku Arima, Noel, Michael Roa Valamjong, Volve Archangel, Red Arcade, Saber, Dead Apostle Noel, Ako Ozaki, Mario Gallo Bestino, Powered CL, Neko Arc, Mash Kairi Light, Yushiwaka Maru, and the Count of Monte Cristo. Alrighty, so aside from fighting games, we're also going to be tackling Arc System Works' most popular IP in the beat-em-up genre, Double Dragon. Yeah, that's right, all of you Double Dragon fans. I'm going to give this franchise some love and add it into the game. You're welcome, by the way. And the roster will consist of Billy Lee, Jimmy Lee, Abobo, Marian, and Willie. Speaking of Arc System Works beat-em-ups, let's cover some of their most recent games, being, of course, River City Girls, and we're gonna have Kyoko and Misako from that game. And hey, I'm gonna get a little crazy here. How about we include one of Arc System Works' most recent games, being a 2D game that's also a platformer called Code Shifter. You guys remember Code Shifter, that one game with all the Arc System IPs in 8-bit, where it was like a 2D platformer slash sort of fighting game? Like, I know a lot of people don't remember this game, and I know it feels weird to include a character from this game, but this is Arc System Works we're talking about, and this is supposed to be the ultimate celebration. So if we're including crossovers, let's include one of their recent IPs, being Code Shifter. Now, there are only like 5 characters that stand out from this game, but out of all of them, I'm going to be choosing Stella to represent Code Shifter since she's the game's protagonist. And hey, we're also going to be throwing in Persona 5 Arena. Okay, yes, I know technically Persona 5 Arena is not a real game, and it's a hypothetical game that could happen, even though it'll never happen. But I like to think that it would happen. Like, please, Atlus, make this game happen. And I want to put Persona 5 reps in here because Persona 4 Arena Ultimax's roster is basically Persona 4 characters and Persona 3 characters crossovering with each other. So why not add a little more sprinkles to the top of it by adding Persona 5 characters into the mix? So yeah. Anyways, for Persona 5 Arena, we have Ren Amamiya, aka Joker, Ryuji Sakamoto, aka Skull, An Takamaki, aka Panther, Yusuke Kitagawa, aka Fox, Haru Okumaru, aka Nor, Makoto Nijima, aka Queen, Morgana, aka Mona, Futaba Sakura, aka Oracle, and last but not least, because we need villain reps, so of course I added Goro Akechi, aka Crow. Okay, so in all seriousness, this next franchise, I know it's not really gonna fit well with this game, but I feel like this is a game that Mori would definitely be into. And that, of course, is the Dead or Alive series. So why exactly Dead or Alive? Well, I can just picture Mori trying to play this game because, well, it's a fighting game, but it's also full of a lot of fan service, and you know Mori loves this fan service. And even though Arc System Works hasn't collabed with Koei Tecmo or Team Ninja, Atlus and Marvelous, the franchises who did collab with Arc System Works as their franchises are represented in this game, they have collabed with the company, so why not? So the representations for Dead or Alive are Kasumi, Ayane, Ryu Hayabusa, Hayate, Helena Douglas, Marie Rose, Neo Tengu, and Alpha 152. Alright guys, and now it's time for the final IP entry of this game, and this is the one franchise that Arc System Works refuses to let them have a crossover because apparently from recent news, I heard that they don't want them having BlazBlue collab with this game because they don't want them to fight each other. Well, I say bullshit because we are definitely going to be including this franchise, and I think you all know exactly what I'm talking about. Guilty Gear, baby! Yeah, boy! Alright, but I will warn you, Guilty Gear has a lot of characters, probably more than BlazBlue. So, I know this is gonna be a little harsh, but I will have to cut the roster down. Not too much, but I'm saying we'll probably include only like at least 26 characters from that franchise. Now, don't worry, this roster is not biased. I mean, I wasn't being so picky with this roster. I made sure that I included some of the important characters, the very recognizable characters. I also made sure to include a lot of fan favorites, some old characters that haven't been in a game in a long time, and especially characters that are brand new to the franchise. So yeah. With that being said, here are the Guilty Gear reps for BlazBlue Cross Tag Battle. Soul Bad Guy, Kai Kisuke, Dizzy, Sin Kisuke, Potemkin, May, Chip Zaneth, Mila Rage, Bridget, Zato1, Axel Lowe, Remlethal Valentine, Jacko Valentine, Leah Whitefang, Giovanna, Elphalete Valentine, Testament, Johnny, Baiken, Faust, Jam Kurodobiri, Raven, Nagoriyuki, Happy Chaos, Ino, and Asuka, aka That Man. Woo! And we are finally done, ladies and gentlemen. Alright, so I can only imagine you guys' jaws being dropped on the ground right from the start just from seeing the massive roster. I mean, I am insane, of course. I told you there would be at least over 100 plus characters. But aside from that, let me know in the comments down below, what do you think of BlazBlue Cross Tag Battle? Who are your mains? And who would you pair up within the old roster and the new roster? And do you have any ideas for this game, like any fan service or interactions with these characters? Please let me know, because it would be so cool. And hey, if you guys want to make a Mugen out of this roster, by all means, go ahead, because I'll gladly let you do it, because I know Arc System Works probably won't. And I'll see you guys in the next video, so peace out everyone, and remember...
Can't escape from crossing fate! Fight!
We win. Guess being part of a team's not all bad.
I don't fight with my strength alone. Having friends makes me stronger.
I'm sure we both have our reasons to fight. So you should know why I can't back down.
It's okay. As a huntress, it's my duty to help those in need. Besides, it's kind of exciting.